Hello students, this is the third part of video for chapter number 5 from history. So today's topic is gardens, tombs and forts. Gardens that we are going to discuss. What kind of garden? Already in previous video I have shown the char bagh, it means the 4 gardens, and tombs where the burials, on the burials the buildings are being made, huge buildings, and even the forts. Under the Mughals, architecture became more complex. Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and especially the Shah Jahan were personally interested in literature, art, and architecture. So they used to patronize them. In his autobiography, Babur described his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens placed within rectangular walled enclosure and divided into 4 quarters by artificial channel. So you can see over here, this is the 4 garden. So it is known as char bagh, and it is divided with the artificial channels. So these channels are the water bodies. These channels are having waters, in short you can say the canals. So these gardens are being divided by the artificial channels. So this description was given in the Babur's autobiography. This is the figure 10, a 1590 painting of Babur supervising worker laying out a char bagh in Kabul. Note how the interesting channel on the path create the characteristics of char bagh design. So as I showed, this is divided by the the artificial channels, the 4 gardens. So this is the scene where the construction was going on, and the king himself personally was looking after the working of the garden. And this is the painting from his history book. There were several important architectural innovations during Akbar's reign. Also, for inspiration, Akbar's architecture turned to the tombs of his Central Asian ancestor Taimur. The central towering dome and the tall gateway Pistak become important aspect of Mughal. So here you can see where the Akbar got inspired, because their building were having many architectural innovations. So mainly their inspiration, Akbar's architectural inspirations he got from the his Central Asian ancestor, that is Taimur. So in the region of Taimur, this kind of buildings were being made. Now what was the special features of the ancestral constructions that was being done during the region of reign of Taimur? That the central towering dome, you can see over here in the most of the Mughal building you can see, found this is the dome, the central dome. This is the important feature. And the another feature of this Mughal building is Pistak. Pistak means the huge entrance. Over here you can see. So every building were having this kind of huge entrance. It is known as, in Arabic language, that is known as Pistak. And the next feature is the dome. These were the 2 features. And even the pillars, minars, that is known as, that you can see in Taj Mahal, the 4 minarets on the 4 sides of the buildings. So that was the another features added to the Mughal architecture. So these are the important aspects of the Mughals. This is the figure 11, what the picture of the tomb of Humayun that was been constructed between 1562 and 1571. Now you can also see the water channels over here. See, the gardens are here, and even the water channels. The next we are having is Mughal architecture you can see this kind of, that is the dome shape architectural and the pista, that is firstly visible in the Humayun's tomb, as we have seen the figure 11. The tomb was placed in the center of huge formal char bagh. So where this tomb is placed? In the center of the char bagh, and built in the tradition known as eight paradise or Hasta Behist. Now, what is eight paradise or Hasta Behist? It means a central hall that is surrounded by the eight rooms. So, in the center, the burial is kept of Humayun, and surrounding the burial, there are eight rooms. This is the main construction, and the main construction is in the center, and again it is surrounded by the four gardens or char bagh. So the building was constructed with red sandstone edged with white marble. So in the when this construction was going on, in the starting, in the beginning of the construction by the Mughal, their building were mainly constructed by the red sandstone. The usage of red sandstone was more. Then to this building a special thing was being added, that was been white marble, but it is added to the edges of the building only. So it is not fully made by white marble, it is fully made by the red sandstone and edges with the white marble. You can see the figure 12, the throne balcony in the Diwan-i-Am in Delhi, completed in 1648. Now what is Diwan-i-Am? This also you have learnt in the previous chapter. Diwan-i-Am, the hall mainly where the ruler used to sit on the throne, as you can see over here at the top. This throne is kept in heighted because the rulers always sit on the top position, and generally the people used to stand in front of him. So this is the throne they used to build, and here the ruler sits, and here the people stands in front of him. So Diwan-i-Am means the people come up with their problem to discuss it with the ruler, and the rulers used to sort out them. And Diwan-i-Khas, this is the other aspect, that the only ministerial group are allowed to meet the rulers. So there are two kind of meeting. One is Diwan-i-Am, where the common people used to come and visit the rulers to sort out their problem, and nextly the Diwan-i-Khas on the ministerial, only the ministerial group used to meet the rulers. It was during Shah Jahan's reign that the different elements of Mughal architecture were fused together in a grand harmonious synthesis. His reign witnessed a huge amount of construction activity, especially in Agra and Delhi. The ceremonial hall of public and private audience, as I said, Diwan-i-Khas or Am, were carefully planned. Placed within a large courtyard, these courts were also described as Chilhil Sutan or 40-pillared hall. So, during the Shah Jahan's reign, different elements of Mughal architectures were fused together. So, huge amount of construction you can see in the period of Shah Jahan when he was ruling, and especially his construction work were done mainly in Agra and as well as Delhi. So many ceremonial halls were also built up, that was for public and private. Public means Diwan-i-Am and private means Diwan-i-Khas for the ministerial group, and Diwan-i-Am for the common people. Now these were well planned, and this placed within a large courtyard. The courts were also described as Chilhil Sutan or the 40-pillared hall. So you can see over here, this is the court, and the hall, you can see the pillars. So this is the large hall, and almost it is having 40 pillars like this. So large hall with the 40 pillars. So you can just understand how huge that hall would be? Shah Jahan's audience halls were specially constructed to resemble a mosque. So this hall is resemblance, it is similar to the mosque, how the mosque is constructed. Now what is the special feature of his audience hall? The pedestal on which his throne was kept was frequently described as Qibla. Qibla we have already read. What does the Qibla mean? That the direction faced by the Muslim at prayer. When they do prayer, they used to face to the western side where the Mecca is located. That place is known as Qibla. So generally Shah Jahan, what did he has done? He has kept his throne on that particular position where the Qibla, where the people used to face their pilgrimage center, that is Mecca. So here when the audience are meeting the ruler, whom they are facing Shah Jahan, the ruler. Since everybody faced that direction when court was in session, the idea of king as a representative of God on earth was suggested by these architecture features. Now why, already you came to know that why he used to place the throne over here, or why he used to sit over there. He want to resemble himself as a god. So king was considered as god when he is giving any kind of decision. It means his wording could be considered as the god's wording. So he is going to give the full justice to the people. That much trust is encouraged in the people, and peoples are facing to the Shah Jahan, who is the resemblance of the god. The connection between royal justice and the imperial court was emphasized by the Shah Jahan. Newly constructed court in Red Fort at Delhi. So this kind of construction was also done in the Red Fort at Delhi. Behind the emperor's throne. Now throne you have already read where it is kept, where the Qibla is facing. So behind this his throne, the emperor's throne, there were a series of Pietra Dura inlays that depicted the legendary Greek god Orpheus playing a lute. So what do you mean by Pietra Dura? It means a hard stone. So in hard stones they are inlaying many designs, and they are decorating it with the hard stone. Hard stone means the rubies, diamonds, like that. They are decorating the wall, and there they also inlaid a design of the Greek god Orpheus. The Greek god's name is Orpheus. So he is playing lute. Now what is the purpose to place the Orpheus god behind the throne on the wall? So it was believed that Orpheus' music could calm ferocious beasts until they coexisted together peaceably. The construction of Shah Jahan Audience Hall aimed to communicate that the king's justice would treat the high and the low as equals, creating a world where all could live together in harmony. So why it was placed? It is considered that the Orpheus used to calm down the ferocious beast by playing his instrument that was called as lute. So placing his picture, the Orpheus god, behind the throne, it means already he was resembling himself as a god. Then he placed the Orpheus god in the behind the throne. So what does he want to show? That he is having that power, that he can control whatever the greatest problem is coming in front of him. He can calm down everyone and can give away a justice to each and everyone, whether he is coming from the higher group or from the lower group. So for him, the ministers and the common people, his own subjects, are common in front of him. Nobody is having nobody is given a special priority. So everyone in front of the ruler or Shah Jahan, they are similar, they are common when he is giving away the justice. So in short, he resembled himself as a god, and again he was having that power that he can give away the justice in a proper way by the blessings of, you can say, the power got by the Orpheus god. So his mind is as calm as the god. In earlier years of his reign, Shah Jahan capital was at Agra, a city where the nobility had constructed their homes on the banks of river Yamuna. These were set in the midst of formal gardens, constructed in the Charbagh format. The Charbagh garden also had a variation that historians described as the riverfront garden. In this dwelling was not located in the middle of Charbagh but at its edge, close to the bank of the river. So when the Shah Jahan was ruling and his capital was at Agra, so early years of his ruling and his capital was in Agra, so there nobility had constructed their homes were nearby the bank of the river of Yamuna. So these were set were in the midst of formal gardens in the Charbagh format, as the tomb we have already read. So Charbagh, the building is surrounded by the garden. Now this Charbagh garden was also having variation. It means it is the chronicles used to describe that the riverfront garden. It means river they can see when they are standing in front of their houses, even they can see the garden. So it is placed like that, and that was the soothing experience they are facing because they are also having the garden and they are also having the river in front of their houses. So in this dwelling was not located in the middle of Charbagh but at its edges. So as we have read that Humayun's tomb was placed in between and it is surrounded by the Charbagh. Here the construction was slightly different. Charbagh used to be constructed in the another region, and the houses were being built at its edges. You can see the Charbagh over here. So in the previous, as we said, that Humayun tomb is kept in the central portion and it is surrounded by the Charbagh, divided by the channels. But in this new construction, Charbaghs are placed over here and the constructions are being made on the edges. So this was the slight different what they have made. And these mainly their home or houses are mainly nearer to the river. Shah Jahan adapted the riverfront garden in layout of Taj Mahal, the grandest architecture accomplishment of his reign. Here the white marble mausoleum was placed on terrace by the edge of river and garden was to its south. So here you can see the building which was being made by the Shah Jahan, mainly the Taj Mahal at Agra. It was being completed in 1643. So he chose to construct this building in the riverfront garden. So this was considered as the grandest architectural accomplishment under the ruling period of Shah Jahan, and it is mainly made up of white marble mausoleum and was placed on terrace by the edge of the river and garden was in its south. So you can see the garden over here, and behind there is a Yamuna river, and you can see the water channels also, the artificial, and this is the four bagh or Charbagh. So this were the special features he added always. This is the grand architectural building made by the Shah Jahan with white marbles. As I said, the minarets, this was the special features again added in the Mughal construction. the dome you can see over here, and the pistak, the huge entrance. When you are entering the Taj Mahal, there is another huge entrance to enter this building. So these pistak, these are the features of the Mughal buildings. Shah Jahan, wait a minute. Shah Jahan developed this architectural form as a mean to control the access that nobles had to the river. In the new city of Shah Jahanabad that he constructed in Delhi, the imperial palace commanded the river front. Only specially favored nobles like his eldest son Dara Sukho were given access to the river. All others had to construct their homes in the city away from the river Yamuna. So as we read, most probably the nobility used to construct their house in the river front with the garden. So their houses were built at the edges of garden and closer to the river. But when the new architectural development was being done by the Shah Jahan, and even when he constructed a new city that is called as Shah Jahanabad. This is the whole picture of Shah Jahanabad. You can see the figure 14, a reconstruction from a map of riverfront garden city of Agra. Note here how the garden palaces of the nobles are placed on the both bank of Yamuna. The Taj Mahal is on the left. Compare layout Agra with Shah Jahanabad in Delhi in figure 15. You can see the figure 15, that is Shah Jahanabad completely. So the riverfront here is the Taj Mahal and all the bags over here. So generally the nobles used to construct the buildings over here, but later on this was being denied by the Shah Jahan, that the nobles will not construct any of their houses nearby the water body, the Yamuna river. Instead of that, they have to construct, or they have to build a building in the city. They are not allowed to reside nearby the riverfront. Only a few were allowed, like the favored nobles, which are being liked by the Shah Jahan. Like here the example is given. The eldest son of Shah Jahan, that is Dara Sukho. So he was given the access to river. He can live. He can construct a building. He can live over there. All other has to construct this homes in the city away from the river Yamuna. So till here, in the next video we will learn about the interesting fact of this Taj Mahal. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.